The rain had just started when I first saw her. Not the heavy kind that comes with thunder and floods the streets, but the kind that drizzles soft against neon signs and makes a small town feel lonelier than it already is. It was late evening in Maplewood, Texas, the kind of place most people only pass through. The highway cut straight across town, with one dusty diner, 2 gas stations, and a handful of storefronts that hadn't changed since the 1950s. Folks there all knew each other by name, by their fathers' names, and by the shadows of old mistakes. I was sitting at the counter in Betty's diner, sipping black coffee I didn't really need. I worked long days at a body shop, fixing other people's broken cars, while quietly carrying my own brokenness. Life for me was simple. Get up, work, eat, sleep. No drama, no surprises. But then the door opened, and she walked in. She wasn't like the rest of us. Not with her worn-out leather jacket that looked 2 sizes too big. Not with her dark hair falling across her face like she was hiding from the world. She carried one small backpack, and her boots were covered in mud, as if she had been walking for miles. Everyone inside turned to look at her. That's what happens in small towns. A stranger walks in, and the whole room freezes. You could feel the judgment before anyone spoke. She didn't look at anyone, though. She just slid into the last booth by the window, pressed her hands around a cup of water, and stared out the rain as if she was waiting for it to wash her away. For some reason, I couldn't stop looking at her. Betty, the diner owner, leaned over the counter toward me and whispered, "Don't even think about it, Jack. Girls like that, they don't stay." I just shrugged, pretending I didn't care. But deep down, something about her silence pulled at me. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes from rudeness. It was the kind of silence that comes from pain. And pain, I understood all too well. The days that followed, she kept coming back. Always to the same booth, always ordering the cheapest thing on the menu, black coffee, sometimes toast. She never talked much, except to say, "Thank you." When Betty refilled her cup, I wanted to talk to her. God knows I did, but I never found the right words. Instead, I watched from my corner, fixing engines by day and studying her silence by night. People in town started whispering. Who is she? Where's she come from? She don't look right. In Maplewood, being an outsider was enough to make you guilty. And she was the kind of girl that made people suspicious, without even trying. One night, as I was locking up the shop, I saw her sitting on the curb across the street. It was late. Too late for someone to be out alone. I walked over slowly. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't look up. "I'm fine," she said softly. Her voice was steady, but there was something broken in it. "You don't look fine." She finally met my eyes, and for a second, the world went quiet. Her eyes weren't the kind you could just glance at. They carried storms, the kind that linger long after the rain has passed. She stood, dusted off her jacket, and said, "People don't usually care if I'm fine or not." And just like that, she walked away, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding like I just survived an accident. From that night on, I couldn't help myself. I started sitting in the booth across from her at the diner. I didn't say much, but sometimes words aren't needed. We shared silences that felt heavier than conversations. She never told me her name at first. I just called her stranger in my head. But eventually, when the silence stretched long enough, she whispered, "Emily." That was it. No last name, no details. Just Emily. And God help me. From the way my chest tightened, I knew I was already gone. But Maplewood wasn't kind to strangers. The more she came around, the more people started to talk. At the grocery store, I overheard someone say, "She's trouble." At church, another whispered, "Girls like that don't belong here." It wasn't fair. She hadn't done anything but exist. But in small towns, existing differently was enough to make you guilty. I kept my head down like I always did. But inside, I wanted to shout at them. I wanted to tell them that they didn't know her, that they didn't see the way she traced patterns on her coffee cup when she thought nobody was looking, or how her eyes softened when the rain fell against the diner window. But I didn't say a word. I just loved her in silence. And I had no idea how fragile that silence was, how soon it would be broken. The weeks slipped by the way rain slips down glass, quietly, unnoticed, until you look up and realize the whole window is streaked. Emily kept showing up at Betty's diner. Same booth, same coffee, same silence. At first, people thought she'd leave. Travelers always did. But she didn't. She lingered. And the longer she stayed, the more the town turned against her. I heard it everywhere. At the body shop, at the grocery store, in whispers behind pews on Sunday mornings. She's hiding something. She doesn't belong here. She's nothing but trouble. I wanted to tell them they were wrong. That maybe she wasn't trouble, maybe she was the first good thing that had ever happened to me. But like always, I stayed quiet. Silence was safer. One night, I found her sitting at the bus stop on the edge of town. The buses had stopped running hours earlier, and the road was dark, lit only by a flickering streetlight. "You waiting for someone?" I asked. She shook her head, pulling her jacket tighter around her. "No, sometimes I just wait." I sat beside her on the cold bench. We didn't talk for a while. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, sure, but it was the kind of heavy that felt shared. Finally, I asked, "Why Maplewood?" Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Why not? Most people don't come here unless they're lost." She looked at me then, and in the dim light, I saw it, the truth behind her silence. She was lost. Not the kind of lost where you take the wrong road. The kind where you've been walking for so long, you don't remember what home looks like anymore. "I guess that makes two of us," she whispered. After that, things changed between us. Not suddenly. Emily wasn't the kind of girl you could rush. But slowly, she let me into her world. We started taking long drives in my old Ford pickup. Nowhere special, just down the endless country roads, past fields and rusting barns, with the radio playing songs too old for the airwaves. Sometimes she talked about the stars, about music, about places she wanted to see, never about her past. That part of her life stayed locked away, sealed behind her eyes. Other times, we didn't talk at all. She'd rest her head against the window, and I'd steal glances when I thought she wasn't looking. Every mile we drove, I fell deeper into something I couldn't put words to, but I never said it out loud. I never said anything. I loved her in silence. The town didn't like what they saw. One afternoon at the gas station, a man named Clyde, the kind who always needed someone else to look down on, cornered me. "You really think she's worth it?" he sneered. "Girls like that, they bring nothing but trouble. You'll see." I clenched my fist but didn't answer. Silence had always been my shield. But that night, lying awake, I wondered if my silence was also my curse. Because if I didn't speak up for her, who would? The storm came 3 nights later. It wasn't just rain. It was the kind of storm that made the sky rip open with lightning and shook the ground with thunder. Power went out across half the town. Streets flooded. Trees bent low under the weight of the wind. I was at the shop, finishing up a late repair, when I saw her. She was running down Main Street, soaked to the bone, carrying something in her arms. I dropped my tools and ran to her. "Emily, it's a dog!" she shouted over the storm. She cradled a half-drowned puppy against her chest, shaking from the cold. It was stuck in the ditch. Her hair clung to her face, rain dripping from her eyelashes, but her eyes burned with something fierce, something alive. "Come on," I yelled, grabbing her hand. We rushed into the shop, slamming the door against the wind. Inside, in the dim glow of a single emergency light, we wrapped the shivering puppy in an old towel. Emily sat on the floor, cradling it close, whispering words I couldn't hear. I knelt beside her, breathless, watching her. Not just the girl everyone said was trouble, not the stranger they wanted gone, but a girl with so much love inside her. It spilled out even for a half-drowned dog. And in that moment, something broke in me. The silence I'd lived in for years, the walls I built to keep myself safe, they all cracked. I wanted to tell her. God, I wanted to tell her. But the words stuck in my throat, heavy as stone. So instead, I just sat there, watching her save something small and helpless, while I silently drowned in feelings I couldn't name. After the storm, Things between us grew closer, though neither of us spoke about it. She'd smile more often when she saw me. A small, fleeting smile, like the sun breaking through clouds for only a moment. We started sharing little rituals, morning coffee, late-night drives, quiet walks down empty roads. But still, she never talked about where she came from. And still, I never told her how I felt. The town kept whispering, and the silence between us kept stretching. I thought we had time, but I didn't know how quickly it could all disappear. It happened on a Tuesday. I woke up early, the way I always did, and stopped by Betty's diner for coffee before heading to the shop. Emily's booth was empty. At first, I thought nothing of it. People oversleep. People get tired of coffee. People take a day off. But when night came and the booth was still empty, I felt something sink deep inside me. By the second day, I drove past the bus station just to check. No sign of her. The bench where she used to sit was empty, the streetlight buzzing faintly in the dark. By the third day, I knew she was gone. No note, no goodbye, no explanation. Just vanished, like rain evaporating from hot pavement, leaving nothing but faint stains. I tried to ask around, though I knew better than to expect kindness. Emily? Haven't seen her, Betty said, her voice soft but her eyes avoiding mine. At the gas station, Clyde smirked. Told you, didn't I? Girls like that never stay. Even the sheriff, a man I'd known my whole life, just shrugged. If she wanted to disappear, she did. Not much we can do. Everyone acted like she had never existed at all, like she'd been nothing but a shadow passing through town. But I knew better. She had been real. I'd seen the way her hands trembled around a coffee cup, the way her eyes softened when the rain fell, the way her voice cracked when she said she was fine, even when she wasn't. She had been real, and now she was gone. For weeks, I drove the back roads, searching. I checked motels, bus stations, gas stops along the highway. I looked for her jacket in every crowd, her hair in every reflection. Nothing. Everywhere I went, there was only silence. At night, I'd lie awake, haunted by all the words I'd never said. I loved her, and she never knew. I'd had chance after chance, night after night, to tell her, and I let silence be my language. Now silence was all I had left. One evening, a storm rolled through again. Not as fierce as the one before, but enough to rattle the windows and fill the streets with rain. I sat in the truck, parked near the diner, and watched water streak down the glass. And I remembered her first night there, staring out the rain, looking like she wanted it to wash her away. Her voice at the bus stop. People don't usually care if I'm fine or not. Her hands wrapped around a half-drowned puppy, whispering life into something the world had already given up on. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I had cared. God help me. I had cared more than I'd ever cared about anyone. But I hadn't told her. Now, all I had were the roads we drove, the booth by the window, the empty bench at the bus stop. I still go back sometimes. I sit in her booth, drink black coffee, and stare out at the rain. The town doesn't talk about her anymore. Maybe they've forgotten. Maybe they've convinced themselves she was never here. But I remember, and in the silence, I still love her. I will always love her. Even if all I'll ever have is a memory of the girl who walked into my life like a storm and vanished just as quickly. They said she didn't belong here. Maybe they were right. But in my silence, she belonged to me, and losing her is a wound I'll carry forever. A love I never spoke, a goodbye I never heard.